My boyfriend cheated on me with my therapist. She was the only person I trusted to help me heal. I told her everything, how scared I was to fall again, how I'd been cheated on before. She listened, took notes, even gave me homework to rebuild my trust, all while sleeping with my boyfriend behind my back. I found out the same week I told her I was ready to finally open my heart again. I still can't believe I'm actually writing this. I've rewritten it 3 times because every version sounds insane. Like it could be the plot of a Netflix thriller or one of those messy story times on TikTok that goes viral in 2 hours. But it's not fiction. This actually happened to me. My name's Jules, I'm 28, work in marketing, and I was 3 months into what I thought was the healthiest relationship of my adult life. His name was Adrian, and he made everything feel easy at first. We met at a bookshop of all places. Cue the fake meet cute vibes. I was holding a copy of The Midnight Library, and he asked if it was worth the hype. We ended up talking about books for 20 minutes and getting coffee across the street. He texted me later that night. I'm still thinking about that plot twist and your smile. Cheesy, but charming. The kind of message I hadn't gotten in years. Adrian was patient, funny, attentive in a way that made me feel like I could finally breathe after years of dating emotionally unavailable men. He'd leave little notes in my lunch bag, text me memes between meetings, and he actually listened when I talked about my anxiety. Which brings me to Margot, my therapist. I started seeing Margot after a particularly brutal breakup the year before. My ex had cheated on me with a coworker, and then somehow made me feel guilty for checking his phone. Margot helped me through the shame spiral. She taught me to journal my triggers, gave me mantras. She was kind but direct, exactly what I needed. When I told her about Adrian, she lit up. Sounds like a green flag man, she said during our 3rd session after I started dating him. I even remember her smiling and saying, "I have a good feeling about this one." God, the irony. Anyway, Margot became one of the few people I told everything to. Every fight, every fear, every overthinking spiral. She knew when I was lying to myself. She reminded me not to give more than I had. She also told me to ask Adrian to journal too, so I could understand his emotional language. Her exact words: have him keep a note on his phone about how he feels when you're together. Share it when he's ready. It builds trust. And like the little overachieving partner I was, I did exactly that. Except I had no idea that the note he was keeping wasn't about me at all. And I wouldn't find it until one very rainy night when everything shattered. You ever have one of those moments where your stomach drops before your brain catches up? Like, your body knows something's wrong even before you see it? That's what happened the night I found the note. It was a Tuesday, nothing dramatic, nothing suspicious. I was over at Adrian's place, curled up on his couch with a mug of tea, because I'd had a rough therapy session earlier. Ironically, about abandonment issues. Classic. Adrian was in the shower, blasting one of those indie playlists he always played when he was trying to seem deep. I was scrolling through Instagram when his phone buzzed next to me. It lit up with a notification that just said, "Update, added to shared journal." I didn't recognize the app. Not Notion, not Google Docs, just something called Lumos Notes. Now listen, before you judge, I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear. But something about that name made my pulse pick up. Because Lumos wasn't just any word. It was a word Margot used. Every session, she'd start with, "Let's bring a little light to what's hiding in the dark." And she once joked about naming her future therapy group Project Lumos, Harry Potter reference. I'd laughed. It stuck. So I tapped it. And, wow, I don't even know how to describe what I saw. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash where you realize you're the one in the front seat. There were dozens of entries, notes, all formatted like journal prompts, just like the ones Margot used to give me. Except they were between 2 people, a back-and-forth thread, like shared diary entries. And the names at the top? A.M. My heart literally skipped a beat. One of the first entries was dated 2 months ago, the same week Margot had told me to encourage Adrian to open up emotionally. In that entry, M had written, "You look tense tonight. I wanted to kiss the tension off your shoulders, but I know we're not there yet. Still, it's hard not to imagine." Another one, more recent, A, "She asked me about trust today. I told her I'm working on it. What I didn't say is that the only person I really trust lately is you." I remember just staring at the screen, trying to breathe around the fact that I recognized the way they talked, the phrasing, the emotional vocabulary, the stupid metaphors Margot used in our sessions. It was her, Margot, my therapist, my safe space, the woman who told me to trust again. She was writing love notes to my boyfriend, and he was writing back. I felt like I couldn't move, like my body just locked down. I must have sat there for 10 minutes, the tea turning cold in my hands. When Adrian walked out of the bathroom, towel slung low around his waist, humming like he wasn't a total monster, I looked up at him and asked, "What's Lumos Notes?" His entire face changed, like I'd just said the one phrase he hoped he'd never hear. His mouth opened, then closed, like his brain was buffering. And that's when I knew it was real, knew I wasn't overreacting or misreading. He stammered, said it was just something for processing thoughts. I stood up slowly, handed him his phone and said, "Tell me who M is, right now." His hands were shaking. He didn't answer. He didn't have to, because in that silence, I already knew. I could feel it. The worst part? He didn't even deny it. The thing about betrayal, it doesn't come all at once. It hits you in waves, sharp, confusing, and weirdly slow. Like your body needs time to realize everything you believed was a lie. That's how I felt walking into Margot's office 2 days later. I didn't cancel the session. I wanted answers, face to face. I needed to look her in the eye and see if she could still lie to me with that same calm therapist voice she always used when telling me to breathe through the pain. I showed up 10 minutes early and sat in the waiting room like I hadn't just discovered the most messed up secret of my life. My heart was thudding so loud I swear the receptionist could hear it. I had the screenshots on my phone, every message from that stupid Lumos Notes journal. Every flirtation, every emotional confession. Every time Adrian had said something awful about me, to her. When she finally opened the door and smiled that gentle, composed smile of hers, it made my skin crawl. "Jules, come on in." I walked in, sat on the couch. But I didn't take off my coat. I didn't even lean back. I just looked at her. "You want to start?" she said, crossing her legs and clicking her pen. "Or should I?" I blinked. "Should I?" And that's when I realized. She knew. She wasn't confused. She wasn't waiting for me to bring up a vague issue so she could feign shock. She knew exactly why I was there. And she was still playing the therapist. I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots, turned it around. "You've been sleeping with my boyfriend." She looked down at the screen. Didn't flinch, didn't deny it. Instead, she said this, "It's not what you think, not what I think." That phrase should be illegal, honestly. Like, girl, you're a licensed professional who watched me cry over this man while secretly building your own emotional affair with him. Possibly more. And now you want to gaslight me? I laughed, not even a cute laugh. One of those short, breathy, bitter laughs that sounds more like a glitch in the Matrix. She leaned forward slightly and said, "I kid you not, you were progressing. But I think you projected a little too much onto him." That made him feel trapped. He came to me for clarity, not for this. My heartbreak, my trust, my entire relationship, reduced to this. I asked her how long it had been going on. She paused, then answered carefully, like she was choosing her words from a crisis comms manual. "Nothing physical, just emotional." At first, it was complicated. I stared at her. At first, so it had gotten physical. She just didn't want to say it. My voice came out quieter than I expected when I said, "You let me cry to you about him? While texting him behind my back?" She didn't answer that. She said she never meant to cross any boundaries, that Adrian was conflicted, that he felt unseen, that I had been struggling to hold space for both of our healing. Translation: she twisted my trauma into a justification for her actions. I stood up. I could feel my hands shaking, but I didn't care. "You know what's wild?" I said. "I came in here to get better, to finally believe that I could trust someone again. And now I have two options. Never trust anyone again, or become the villain myself." And I swear, she actually looked sad. Not guilty, not remorseful. Just sad, like she was the one losing something. I walked out, didn't look back, blocked her number, filed an ethics complaint with the licensing board the next day, told Adrian he had until the end of the week to come get the hoodie he left at my place before it went in the trash. Spoiler, it went in the trash. But that's not the end, because 3 days later, I got a package from Margot with a letter inside. And the first line? "I didn't expect you to find out that way." The envelope was thick, cream-colored, fancy, like the kind you use for wedding invitations or thank you notes when you're trying to seem elegant. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting on the front, instantly looped letters. Overly neat, like she was still trying to control the narrative even now. Margot. At first, I wasn't going to open it. I told myself I'd throw it in the trash unopened, that she didn't deserve another second of my time. But it sat there on my kitchen counter for 2 full hours while I cleaned aggressively and failed to focus on anything else. I finally ripped it open with a steak knife. Real dramatic. Inside, 4 pages, front and back, written in black ink. No apology in the first paragraph. No regret. Just justification. Here's what it said summarized, because reading it in full made me want to scream into a couch pillow. "I didn't expect you to find out that way. I was going to tell you. Eventually. I just didn't know how." She went on to say that her connection with Adrian started innocently. Apparently, he reached out to her after one of our sessions to clarify something I said. Huge violation, by the way. She claims she didn't realize he was texting her from his personal number at first, that he was vulnerable and lost. It became clear he didn't feel safe being fully honest with you. I wanted to help, but somewhere along the way, I started feeling something too. You wanted to help? Margot, babe, you helped yourself to my boyfriend. She wrote that it was emotionally complicated, that he confided in her about feeling pressured by the speed of our relationship, that he was terrified of hurting me. Spoiler, he did that anyway. Then came the line that made my jaw drop. In many ways, I believe I knew him better than you did. Oh, wow. I slammed the letter down on the table. My heart was pounding. Better than me? You knew him better because you listened while I sobbed into your couch about how afraid I was to get hurt again? You knew him better because you watched me unravel and took mental notes on how to fill in the cracks? Cool. She ended it with this. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I do care about you, and I hope in time you'll see that love is rarely clean, that sometimes connections happen in the mess. I folded the letter neatly, walked to the sink, and lit it on fire over a candle. Watched it curl into black ash while I whispered, "That's one connection I won't be salvaging." The next day, I told my boss I needed a week off. Mental health break. She didn't ask questions, just told me to take care of myself. And that's when I decided I wasn't gonna hide anymore. Not from the truth, not from the embarrassment, not from the fact that I'd been betrayed by not one but two people I trusted. I was going to own the wreckage, all of it. So I did something that scared me. I texted everyone in my close circle group chat style, told them the truth. What Margot did, what Adrian did, how I found out. There was silence at first. And then, explosions. My best friend Ivy called me crying. I never liked him, she said, but I didn't want to be that friend. Another one sent me a screenshot. Margot had been following Adrian's Finsta for months. Creepy. Someone else, an old college friend I hadn't talked to in a while, sent me a message that changed everything. She said, "Wait, is that the same Margot who dated my ex's friend last year and tried to counsel them through their breakup while secretly sleeping with one of them?" My blood turned to ice. Turns out, I wasn't the first. Not by a long shot. You know that moment when your personal nightmare suddenly becomes someone else's too? When I got that message from my old friend Talia, I literally had to sit down. She was like, "I wasn't 100 sure it was the same Margot until you described her handwriting." She used to write these intense birthday cards to Jake with full paragraphs, weirdly poetic, but always felt off. Jake was her ex's best friend. And the timeline? Alarming. Apparently, their story went something like this. Margot was seeing a guy casually. That guy was going through a messy breakup with his longtime girlfriend. Margot offered to help them process things therapeutically, since she wasn't licensed in their state and didn't have to follow all the rules. What? And yep, you guessed it. While pretending to help them close their emotional loop, she started secretly seeing the ex-boyfriend, told him he deserved joy without shame, and told the girlfriend that her intense feelings were attachment wounds she needed to work through alone. Translation: she was already sleeping with him. I had chills reading the texts Talia sent me. It was like seeing the same movie with a different cast. A few hours later, another friend Joss texted me out of nowhere. "Hey, is this about Margot from Willow Therapy Collective?" I didn't even know she knew her. Joss had done a few therapy workshops during the pandemic and recognized the name from a local Instagram ad. She did some digging and found a Reddit thread from over a year ago, buried in a mental health forum, titled, "Anyone had weird experiences with therapists crossing boundaries?" Guess whose name was dropped 3 separate times? Margot. No one said anything outright, probably too scared to post real details, but the descriptions matched. Emotionally intense, overly familiar, invited me to a private journaling group outside of sessions. It was all adding up. She wasn't just unethical. She was a serial boundary breaker who used her clients' deepest wounds to create emotional connections, and then turn those connections into affairs. Honestly, I felt sick, but also validated in a way that surprised me. Because for weeks, I'd been second-guessing everything. Was I too dramatic? Did I miss red flags? Was I somehow responsible? But now, I saw the pattern. I wasn't her first. I might not even be her worst. I was just the latest in a long list of women she tried to outsmart, intimidate, steal from. And something in me shifted, like no more crying into my wine glass energy. That chapter was closed. It was time to do something. So I pulled up the ethics complaint form I'd submitted to the state board and added every single new piece of information I had. I even reached out to one of the Reddit posters, carefully, kindly, just to ask if they'd be willing to share their experience, anonymously. They said yes. So did Talia. And Jaws helped me craft a timeline. Every entry, every overlap, every possible infraction. I wasn't just going to hold Margot accountable for my pain. I was going to help the other women she hurt too. I felt like a tiny warrior with a Google Doc and a rage-fueled sense of justice. Oh, and Adrian? He tried to text me again. Just checking in. I'm not doing great. I left him on read. Because I was doing amazing. But just when I thought things had settled, my phone rang. Blocked number. I answered, expecting silence. Instead, I heard Margot's voice. Jules, I think we need to talk. Something's happened. Her voice sounded tight, controlled, but under it, panic. I didn't say anything for a second, just stared out the window, heart thudding in my ears like a metronome set to rage mode. Why are you calling me? I finally said, ice in my voice. Didn't you say everything between us was emotionally complicated? She sighed. This isn't about us. Not anymore. Us. Like we were some kind of tragic love triangle instead of the clinical dumpster fire she lit and danced around in a lab coat. Then she said something that made my blood pressure spike. I've been suspended. Pending an investigation. Someone maybe you submitted a complaint with supporting evidence. Screenshots, journal entries, third-party statements. I said nothing. Because yes, I did that. Proudly. She kept talking. Faster now. I'm not calling to defend myself. I know how it looks. I need you to understand how quickly this is spiraling. My practice is being reviewed. My license could be revoked. My career is, I cut her off. And I was your patient. Someone you were supposed to protect. But instead, you emotionally entangled yourself with my boyfriend and weaponized my trauma to justify it. Silence. Then she said, I never planned any of this. But things got blurred, and I lost perspective. You don't know what it's like to be needed by someone so intensely it clouds your judgment. Oh, my God. The audacity to turn herself into the victim of her own ethical violations? I was speechless for a beat, but she wasn't done. Adrian's panicking too. He thinks you've ruined both our lives. I let out a laugh. Not a cute one. A bitter, are you serious right now? Kind of laugh. Oh, I ruined your lives? That's rich. Coming from the woman who told me to encourage vulnerability in a man she was secretly texting under the table. She had the nerve to say, I just thought maybe you'd want to help me write a response to the board. A statement. You're smart. You know context matters. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped clean in two. Not only did she destroy the most vulnerable relationship I'd built in years, but now she wanted me to help her get away with it. I felt myself go still, cold, the kind of calm that only comes when you're done being the nice girl. Let me be clear, I said. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your friend. And I'm definitely not your cover story. You manipulated me. You groomed Adrian under the guise of professionalism. And now, you get to face the consequences. I was about to hang up, but she added one last thing. He's not who you think he is either, Jules. He told me things you don't know. That sentence sat in the air like a loaded gun, but I didn't ask. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I hung up, and then I blocked her number. I wanted so badly to believe it was over, that I'd seen the worst of it, that everything Margot and Adrian did had already come to light, burned to ash, and that all that was left now was healing. But her voice echoed in my head for days. He's not who you think he is. And the worst part? She said it so calmly, like it wasn't a threat, like it was a favor. So, yeah, I started digging. I wasn't proud of it, but betrayal turns you into a temporary FBI agent with unlimited energy and zero chill. I scrolled, searched, cross-referenced, old texts, tagged photos, emails he forwarded me by accident, all of it. And that's when I found the folder. It was tucked away in the archived section of our shared Google Drive. I'd forgotten we even had it. It started as a place to share recipes and movie lists, but this folder was different. It was labeled, personal not for Jules, dead giveaway. If you're gonna hide stuff, maybe don't literally label it like a trapdoor in a haunted house. Inside were PDFs, dozens, resumes, cover letters, application screenshots. At first I didn't get it. He was job hunting? So what? But then I noticed the locations. New York, Portland, Chicago, even Canada. Which was weird, because Adrian swore up and down he hated big cities. Always said they drained his energy. We'd literally gotten into a whole debate about it, after I casually mentioned maybe relocating for work one day. So why was he applying to places that were 1,000 miles away? Then came the final blow. A saved draft of an email. Untitled. Still in his Google Docs. Addressed to Margot W., the same woman who claimed everything just got messy. And the subject line? Next steps are future. My hands were shaking before I even opened it. The email started with, "I've been thinking more about what you said, about starting over somewhere no one knows us," and it just unraveled from there. He talked about leaving quietly, mentioned how I still suspected nothing, said I was emotionally attached but not intuitive, which is rich, considering I literally found this email. He even outlined a timeline, said he'd wait until after my birthday to keep things calm, not break up, not talk, leave, just vanish. With her. Together. That was the plan. They weren't just messing around. They were planning an escape while still watching movies with me on the couch, still kissing my forehead at night, still holding my hand like it meant something. I sat there staring at the screen, and I swear I heard my own heartbeat in my ears. He was going to leave me without even a goodbye. Just disappear, move cities, move on. Like I never existed. The only reason he didn't? Because I found them first. Because their secret got dragged into the light before they could bury me in silence. That's when I knew. I couldn't just walk away from this quietly. Because this wasn't just heartbreak. This was a pattern. A man who plays innocent. A woman who weaponizes trust. And me? Somewhere in between, forced to pick up the pieces of a life I almost built with a liar and the woman I trusted to help me heal. But not anymore. I wasn't going to be collateral damage. I was going to be the storm. I could have gone scorched earth, posted the screenshots, tagged them both, let the world watch them unravel. And trust me, I was so close. But here's the thing no one tells you. Real revenge isn't a dramatic confrontation. It's not shouting in the rain or smashing their stuff to bits. Real revenge is silence, clarity, and a comeback they never see coming. So I started rebuilding, not to prove anything to them, but to remind myself that I was never the weak link in this triangle. I was the whole damn shape. I moved out of the apartment we used to share, got my own place across town, tiny, cozy, filled with light and absolutely no emotional landmines, painted the walls sage green, bought new sheets, burned sage, literally and metaphorically. I finally took the work opportunity I'd been afraid to mention around Adrian because he always made me feel too ambitious. The new job? Fully remote, higher pay. And my boss? A woman who actually respects boundaries. Imagine that. Therapy? Still part of my routine. But this time with a licensed professional who's actually, ethical. I even joined a journaling group online just for healing and accountability. We do virtual wine nights and share poems and affirmations. There's this girl named Kaya who sends me memes every Monday and calls me Glow Up Jules. I live for it. As for Adrian and Margot, he moved out of state alone. Turns out Margot did lose her license. Word got out. Her private clients dropped her like a hot potato. And the board? They were not impressed by her little emotionally complicated defense. They weren't seen again together after that. Maybe they tried. Maybe they failed. Honestly, I don't care. Because the version of me who would have stalked their socials and obsessed over their downfall, she doesn't live here anymore. The new version? She goes to sleep knowing she chose herself. She wakes up free. And the final poetic twist? Adrian texted me 3 weeks ago. Just one sentence. Do you ever think about what we had? I didn't reply, but I did smile. Because, yeah, I do think about what we had. And I thank God every day that I lost it.